do not settle on who you hire. If we hire someone that does not take ownership or is driven or hungry on themselves, then it turns into a total weight for us.
I would rather take this time up front to vet on the front end versus making a hire that doesn't work out and then having to start all over.
Teams are here to support your life and your energy, not completely burden you or suffocate you.
Say I really like someone's personality and they would be a really good fit. If their working genius or disc is not a match, it's easy for me to cross them off the list.
Yeah. The first sign to be cautious around is if you find yourself trying to convince yourself or convince the other person of their potential or what they could do, or. If there's any type of convincing or reasoning around what they could do, that's a no. Oftentimes we do settle because we're hiring from a place of pain and we don't have clarity. Today, we're jumping into a conversation of the hiring process for your admin on a real estate team. And keep in mind, even if you're a solo agent, this is going to help you through the process of you hiring your first admin. And none better than the brilliant Kelly Melody. She and I have been working together for 10 years.
Almost 10, yeah.
10 years, and she started from the bottom, and now you're here.
Yep.
Licking envelopes, sending out mailers, and now fully running our real estate team, all things chief of staff, all things market and lead generation conversion, and all things operations. Why do you even need me anymore?
We need the face.
There we go. Okay, man.
We need that extrovert.
Time is not on our side if you need a face. To bring you up to speed, and Kelly's going to just jump through, we've learned the hard way of what to do and what not to do through the hiring process. We've made plenty of mistakes, and we've come up with our process, which is far more, I would say a lot of people think that it's far more complicated and drawn out and detailed and maybe even cumbersome to an extent, but we've just learned how important it is to hire the right person.
Yeah, I would rather take this time up front to vet on the front end versus making a hire that doesn't work out and then having to start all over. So we've added to this process from the mistakes that we've made. And so that's why it's a little bit longer, because I would rather hire the right person that we can just move forward with.
Yep.
Yep.
For those of you that are watching on, say, Instagram, YouTube, or even podcast platforms that may not know our backstory, the short and sweet of it is we're in the Jacksonville, St. Augustine market, and we're the top large team for the past 3 years running straight, with some caveats to add on to that.
Yeah, top in volume,
Yeah.
right? So not necessarily in units, but we've got a higher average price point. So we're working smarter, not harder, I guess.
I love that. When you make more by doing less.
Yeah.
And also our team of 15 agents, most have been with us 6+ years. And now another caveat is we do not buy leads. So we don't have a Zillow or Realtor.com spend. And we also run a 35 to 45% profit margin. So we're just built differently. And that's who Kelly and I help and coach, is we pour into people who either want to build a team, who want to grow and scale their team, or need to completely just burn down their existing organization and rebuild it the right way. Because teams are here to support your life and your energy, not completely burden you or suffocate you, or you have to carry some type of resentment towards your team. So anyway, Kelly and I coach agents who want to build and grow and scale real estate teams. Okay, with that being said, what does your hiring process look like for admin? Kind of like the rapid fire checklist, and then we'll circle back and go into each part.
Perfect. So once we get interested people and they have kind of submitted an online form like, hey, I'm interested in this opportunity to work with you. The first thing is they fill out a DISC assessment that comes in with their application. I scan through that really quick. If I'm looking for an admin or a virtual assistant role, I'm typically looking for a high C, really just a high C. So that DISC assessment comes in. If that's a match, we do a quick Zoom interview. After that, if they're a match, I bring you into the process to ask some different questions and poke kind of from a different perspective and angle. After that, they interview with some relevant, seasoned agents on our team to make sure, because you're coming from an owner perspective, I'm coming from an operations perspective. And then if this person's going to be interacting with agents on the team, it's important for them to connect as well. We do something that we call the Hunger Games, which we can get into, but that has been key for us. So stay tuned if you want all the details on the Hunger Games and why that has been such an important step in our hiring process. And then after that, we come down to the final decision and we are confident on who the best option is going to be to join our team.
Okay, perfect. So that's the rapid fire. Now let's take it all the way back, even before we put the ads out there to get somebody. Oftentimes we do ads just to cover that basis, but oftentimes we get people from within our network and our sphere.
Yeah.
But before you do any of that, what do you have to get clear on?
Before that, we have to identify a need or a gap in our team that just no one can fill because of capacity or because of talents or strengths or whatever it is. There's a gap, and we have exhausted all other measures to be like, no one else currently on our team can fill this gap. We have to hire out. And then we have absolute clarity on what that role is and what that role will do. And sometimes that role isn't a conventional admin role. It may be some kind of random tasks or like a role that doesn't exist on typical real estate teams, and we're okay with that. So, but having absolute clarity on exactly what that person is going to do, because that's fair to them, and it helps us be clear on exactly who to hire.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so you're clear on the role. And then whenever they fill out an application, they submit that along with a disc. And that disc is really the key that unlocks the next step. Okay, and the next step is scheduling a Zoom interview. How long is the interview generally, and what's the purpose?
I try to keep it under 30 minutes. And if it's an immediate not fit, I will end it as quickly as possible. There's no reason to drag anything out if you can tell right from the beginning that they're just not a fit. So politely just end the call as quickly as possible.
No reason you need to spend another 20 minutes.
No, because depending on how many people you have applying for a role, for us, generally administrative roles, we get quite a few applicants, and I just don't have the time to be on 30-minute Zoom calls with somebody if I know it's not a fit. Plus, that's kind, right? Let everyone move on with the next steps if you can tell it's not a fit.
What is your goal on that Zoom?
I want to get to know them a little bit. I want to see their personality. I want to hear their personality, their speaking style. Just can I see them fitting in with F3, culturally, from just that first call? So it's really just an overview of, do I like this person?
Likability.
Do they seem like they would be a fit? And is there some competence for the role that they're applying for? So pretty general overview interview.
Okay, cool. All right. So after that interview, if it's a thumbs up, what's the next step?
So that's when we bring in another personality assessment called the Working Genius. And that assessment was a real unlock for us a couple years ago because it just really nails a person's personality and strengths when it comes to specific roles. So I use the Working Genius for all of our administrative roles. Plus, if we're hiring a VA, we use the Working Genius assessment for overseas virtual assistants too.
It's $25 per assessment. I actually just had Sarah do it over the weekend.
Oh, fun! Yeah.
She loved it, and it's so insightful because not only does it show working strengths, but also working frustrations. And that's very revealing.
That's a great point. Is the strengths are important, yes, but also the frustrations. And if there's a frustration that exists within the role that you're hiring for, it's an immediate, we're not moving forward.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people will say, well, how are you basing this on a personality assessment? It really can't tell you so much about the person. And I don't let it influence the entire hiring decision, but we've used the DISC and Working Genius enough to know that they, especially the
Get us
Working
close.
Genius, it's insanely accurate.
Yeah.
Like it nailed my personality.
Right.
So we
And
use
it's
it.
and you go in looking for a particular result from the disc and a particular category from Working Jesus, where it's just not a shot in the dark. And we don't have to go into those categories, but
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, these are the qualifiers. Oh, they fit the qualifiers of Working Genius. Green light to the next step.
Also, what they do is they remove emotion from the hiring process.
good.
So say I really like someone's personality and they would be a really good fit. If their Working Genius or DISC is not a match, it's easy for me to cross them off the list and remove like, oh, but I really like them. It doesn't get to influence if they're not going to be a fit for the role.
It hopefully reveals blind spots or tendencies we have. Okay, Working Genius comes in, green light, what's the next step?
That's when you come in. So I try to vet the obvious fit for the role as much as I can on the front end until you come in and you just ask really great different questions that I'm not thinking of from my perspective. So that's why we bring you in. So I'll ask you at this point, what are some kinds of questions or things that you're looking to get out of people at this point in the administrative interview process?
And I also want to add that both you and I are on the Zoom together.
Yes.
This is another Zoom interview. I'm doing most of the speaking and you're observing.
Yes. And I have given you everything up to this point and filled you in a little bit on my perspective and recommendations too. So you're not going in blind.
My role is more of a culture fit and like what is their motivation? Kind of what's the story behind their story? What's their past, their track record? What's their intention? Because I'm really looking for the right culture fit for long term. You have all the figured out of whether they're capable and competent to do the role. So that's your wheelhouse. I don't ask about that kind of stuff. But mine is trying to ask like the same question in different angles to see if I can find a crack in their story, because everybody's at their best on interviews and like everyone's resumes are made by AI anyway. So I'm trying to like poke holes in their story and get an understanding of like what drives them, what motivates them, what are they, not only are they the right fit in person for this position and our team, is this position equally the right fit for their needs and wants and desires and wiring? So my two things is like, what kind of person are they? Are we in cultural alignment? And does the position and them match for longevity? Because we know the investment of time and energy it takes to bring on somebody. I don't want somebody to be with us for a year and then move on.
Right.
So, and then it's kind of like, how are they when it comes to like owning a role? Like a couple things, like their hunger, their need, but then also what is their motive, like ownership mindset? How are they wired? Are they problem solvers? Are they resourceful? Are they driven? And are they like, do they take ownership? Because if we hire someone that does not take ownership or is driven or hungry on themselves, then it turns into a total weight for us.
Right.
It creates more work and more problems.
I think that growth mindset also is what you're trying to uncover. And then also coachability. Are they coachable and open to learning and growing as well too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. And so I have a great time interviewing these because I can kind of come across as the bad cop. And I do have to like create that personal distance because I see the best in everybody. And so you're able to kind of be the good cop, I'm the bad cop. All the meanwhile, as I'm asking them questions, you're able to be the third party, observing, listening, and reading in between the lines. We're trying to expose things that would be detrimental in hiring them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that interview is always the most like telling part of the entire process.
Mhm.
Getting in, and you're not afraid to ask questions that other people might hesitate to ask too. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I think we have a list of those 10 questions, like 10 example questions that I asked them. And most everyone says, "Oh, I've never been asked that before. Oh, these are really tricky questions." It's like they're not prepared. And that's what we want. Yeah.
Exactly.
These
Exactly
are
what
not
we
the
want.
classic ChatGPT interview questions that people try to prepare for. Okay, so they make it then so they get both of our green lights to make it to the next process. What do they do? What do we do with them after that?
Yeah. So then we have a couple long-term agents on our team. And we, especially if they're going to interact with agents on our team, we bring a couple agents in at that point. And that's kind of just purely from a social standpoint. Our agents are really social. We've got a tight knit culture. If you've watched our other videos, culture is really important. And they're giving just a third set of eyes. I'm looking at them first from an operations, like administrative standpoint. You're looking from the team leader culture fit standpoint. And then we bring in these other agents just to look from like, hey, can they like hang out with us?
Yeah.
And will they seamlessly kind of integrate? And can we be friends is kind of where they're coming from.
And two agents specifically come to mind that have just a unique sense of intuition. And let me ask you this. Do you go with them to that coffee hangout?
No, I don't. And that's a great point because we kind of provide the contact information for those agents and we put it on the applicant to reach out and schedule with them. So that kind of goes back to that growth ownership aspect of the role. Like if we provide them with information, will they take the lead and the ownership to go ahead and get this scheduled and take the next step in the process? Because if they hesitate, that just tells us it's not a fit.
So after they meet with one or two agents over coffee, how much weight do you give the agent's opinion of the applicant?
I mean, we give it a good sense of weight. Mainly because the two agents you're thinking of, they really connect with people quickly. And they can tell, this person is really great, or hey, like these are a few things that I noticed that you may want to dig a little deeper on. And then it kind of puts it back on us like, okay, if those are some red flags that they saw, we need to
go deeper.
Those pressure points.
Yeah. Okay. They come back from coffee. It's green light. What's next?
After they meet with those, so this is the Hunger Games. So
Welcome
this
to the
might
Hunger
be
Games.
what you've waited for to know about what we call the Hunger Games. At that point, we're going to narrow it down and you should probably have a feeling of like, hey, like these two are probably going to be my best fit, my best option. And I can't decide between them. I think this is, we came down to, we couldn't decide between two people. And we had a person that we thought was going to be the best when we were hiring for a position. And we were like, well, let's put both of them in and see how they do. And so for a week, we recommend at least a week. I wouldn't do longer than 10 business days on this, but put them in the actual role, give them the instructions and actually train them on what it would be that they would be doing from day to day. And you're going to kind of pin them against each other. It's what we call the Hunger Games. We do tell them up front, like, hey, you've made it to the finals. This is the next step in the process. We're actually going to hire you and another person to do the actual role. And at the end of this time period, we're going to pick the person that has done the best job. Are you cool with that? We've never had a person say no.
Right.
So that also tells us like, hey, like they're hungry and they're confident and they're ready to prove themselves. That's a huge thing that we weigh when we're hiring for the role too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so what does this do and protect us and guard against? Like, why do we even do this?
I mean, it comes down to like, if we're not sure, which, I mean, even if you are sure, I would still do this. Because we were completely surprised. The person that we thought was going to run away with it failed. And the other person just immediately took off and was wildly successful.
Yeah. This is a perfect example of putting all your eggs in one basket. It doesn't take any extra work. You're just hiring 2 people to do the same thing for a week and you choose the better fit. Versus if you only invest in one person for a week, they may not be at the caliber you want, but you're like, oh, let's just give them another week. And then it's the sunk cost fallacy of like, oh, well, we've had her for 3 weeks. Like, we got to give just more time. And it's just so hard to make the decision of like, all right, we're going to cut ties, let them go, and start all over again. And you lost momentum.
Right. And you had another candidate that was probably a good fit if you were trying to decide between the two. And now you have to tuck your tail between your legs and go back to that person and be like, hey, the person that we actually hired wasn't a good fit. Are you still interested? Yeah. I don't know. That would put a bad taste in my mouth. And I would be like, I don't know, you didn't want me. So I think at this point, I don't want you. Yeah. So it just guards against making the wrong choice.
And so if someone says, oh, well, I don't think I really have 2 equal great candidates. I'm only kind of like, there's this one that's like above average. That would take us all the way back to the very beginning is you've got to make sure that you start with a large enough sample size. Because if you don't have a lot from at the beginning, as you go through all the steps, the filter gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and you may be left with like 2 average people and then feel pressured to choose one because you don't want to start all over again.
Yeah, all of your eggs, you don't want, like the eggs in the basket analogy, you don't want all of your eggs in the basket at any point during the process, especially from the beginning. If you have all of your eggs in one basket from just the disc assessment that they send in with the resume, you don't have enough people applying for your position.
Right. And make sure your initial sample size is plenty large enough. Okay, so where are we at?
So
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
You made it through the week. There's a clear. There will always be a clear winner and a clear loser. And so you make it through the week. Then what?
That's it. You are confident that this person can handle the role because they've been handling it for a week and they handled it better than another person. So you can feel confident being like, all right, hey, you were the clear winner and we're going to move on from here.
Offer you the job.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. I think, what if neither of them
are a clear winner?
Or you're just hesitating with the 2 finalists, or 3 if you want to do 3. I wouldn't do more than 3, but 2 to 3. If you're hesitating, there's a reason why.
For us, if there's not a clear winner that you're excited about, the first sign to be cautious around is if you find yourself trying to convince yourself or convince the other person of their potential or what they could do, or if there's any type of convincing or reasoning around what they could do, that's a no. For us, it's not a no always. It's just pause. Like, let's slow down and pause the process. Just because this whole machine is running doesn't mean we have to just choose one, hire them, and move on. So if you don't have someone you're excited about, like truly excited about, that's a pause, reassess, and if you need to start over, start over. Because by forcing something that's just an average player, they're just not going to fill the role and the need that you need.
No, you're going to waste the time and money until you have the conversation that, hey, after all of this time, it's still not working and you're going to have to start over anyway, but you've wasted a few extra weeks before you've started over. Yeah.
And you could be distracted by other attributes of that applicant. So for example, like if you need like a falcon, like a bird, like a falcon, a predator bird, and this person really is a mockingbird, which has beautiful songs and notes and whatever, you could be distracted by how beautifully they sing and then justify or reason of like, oh, but I know they can do this role. And that's why at the very beginning, you have to be so clear on your outcome, the result, and the role and the job description, so you don't get distracted by other applicants that are not the right fit. So for us to answer your question, we hit pause and we do not settle. The whole takeaway from all of this is do not settle on who you hire. Oftentimes we do settle because we're hiring from a place of pain and we don't have clarity and we're in a rush.
That's it. Yep. But it's always better in the long run to just not hire because you're just going to waste more time in the end.
And we've gone through the hiring process and
Yes.
decided not to hire anybody, or
Yep.
decided to stop and restart.
And I think that you said we've gone through the hiring process and we decided you're in charge of this hiring process and you get to make the decisions. So taking emotion out of that decision is the really like top recommendation I would make. And then, like you said, the pressure that you have to hire somebody after going through the process, you don't have to.
Yeah, you're right. Just because we advertised a job and we got a ton of applicants and we did a lot of interviews, through that whole week process just recently, we're like, we've gotten so much clarity that not only are we not going to hire one, we're going to completely eliminate the idea of the position.
Yep. And that's okay. And that's okay. And that is okay. It's better for, I would rather not make a hire than make a bad hire.
Yep, that's good. You know, there's a little kind of a quick list. If you just want to rattle through that item 6, which hiring mistakes have shaped our process the most? Are there any of those that stand out? I don't think we have to deep dive each of them.
No, I mean, hiring the wrong person has shaped our process the most. Yeah. I mean, that's really like where this is coming from and why our process has gotten so long is because we have made bad hires. And we learn from something every single time. Like, well, not going to hire that, or that's a great question that we should have asked in the interview process. And so making these hires that weren't, and I don't want to say they were bad hires, they weren't the right fit.
Yeah.
So finding out along the way what wasn't a good fit has led to our process.
And I would have non-negotiables, like criteria, rather than flexing around a potential applicant. They need to flex and accommodate all of our criteria needs, talking about like working full-time, part-time, working from home, working on the go, being a remote worker. It's like a lot of times you begin to like this applicant and then you're like, oh, well, we can accommodate this and we can accommodate this. Just know through the interview process and right when you're hiring someone, that is like the most authority and influence you will ever have over that person. And if you start conceding and accommodating, it only slides. Like people only get more comfortable with you, and through that comfort is familiarity, and then they begin to like take things for granted. So don't be too generous too early on. Don't offer trust too early on, and hold your standards and your guidelines like really, really strong early on until they earn the right to begin to have a little more flexibility.
Right. Yeah. Like I like to be like, we're not looking to hire somebody as these applicants come in. It's almost like I'm looking for reasons to eliminate them until they prove that there's no reason to eliminate them.
That's a really good point.
So take the, but I really like them, or, but I really need somebody. All that emotion and pressure just clouds your judgment, like you said, and now we're making accommodations. If you have absolute clarity around what you need, all of those things are reason to eliminate if they are not meeting what you're looking for.
They've got to have the right key to unlock the next lock to get to the next section.
Right.
Otherwise, the key goes in, it doesn't unlock it, they stop there.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Cool. And just go back.
There you go. So this is all about hiring admin for your real estate team. The next video we will do is how to hire agents. Similar process, but also subtle differences. For your real estate team. And that's how you build a really amazing culture, team, and business that everyone will thrive in. If you have it on your radar about starting a team, or you want to grow or change your team, reach out to Kelly and I. That's what we coach agents on. All right, we'll see you on the next conversation.